Gee, we're back again.
You're back again.
Doing it.
Doing it.
Busting out a lot of podcasts right now.
Absolutely. And it's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Wonderful to talk.
It is wonderful. What we're going to talk about today is really important in Time Tech. So important that we have signs of it in our office out there that we'll post as well. I would say that we could record out there, but it's noisy back there. So we're going to talk about listening, learning, and leading.
Yeah.
So our signs out there say listen, learn, and lead. And that is something that you emphasize a lot to everybody in the company, not just our leaders. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Why is that important?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what is listening, what is learning, and what is leading? So we'll dig deep on each of those items. But more importantly, what is listening and why it's required?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the world is only possible when people live.
When people live?
People live without, if we take away human beings out of this physical world, there is no world. There is just like buildings and roads. Like the world only happens by having human beings here.
Okay.
At least you need two people
on
this world, right?
Uh-huh.
Because one person also cannot have world or life if
Right.
that person is alone. There was a movie is called, forgot, I told you about that movie.
Yep. And now we can't think of it either.
The space journey for 30 years or 300 years it took. I forgot the name of the company.
I'll figure it out.
And he was alone, woke up 10 years early.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Or 60 years early. And then he had to wake up one more person.
Mm-hmm.
So why listening? Because the moment you want to live on this planet, you need to listen. You need to listen and you need to talk.
Passenger.
Yes.
That's the name of the movie.
Space Boys.
Yes.
Right? Because he was alone and he didn't want to die. 100 years living alone is not the possibility human being wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
So listening is critical for human beings to be on this planet and do what needs to be done. So in my world, the moment like you and I are working together, Tasha and Annalisa is recording here and the other people are in my life, listening is so critical because if I'm not listening, I'm not living. And I'll talk more about what kind of listening, how do you listen, but without listening, there is no life. There's truly no life for me. So maybe I say a few more things about that. I only listen when I want to live. And I want to live because my life is not possible without other human beings.
Right.
So I talked about that. And if I want to live through other people, I need to listen what other people are thinking.
So listening for you is an important part of that connection with other humans. There's no connection with the other humans until you listen to them.
In fact, you cannot create any connection until you start listening.
Right.
Or until you listen, there is no connection.
Right.
Because how would you know
Totally.
what other person is thinking?
Totally.
Who that other person is?
Mm-hmm.
What other person wants? For me, listening is key to have a compassion and love towards other human beings.
Right.
Because if you do not listen, then you are keep talking, you are imposing your views, you are imposing your ideas, you are imposing your life on other people without letting other people live their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And without other people living their lives, you cannot have your life because I just share, you cannot be alone on this planet, you need other people.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, what human beings do, they want to live through other people and yet they don't care about other people.
Yeah, because they still, in order for them to live their lives, they have to interact and depend on and be around other people, but they're not listening to them, they're not caring about them.
And reason is because they are just so self-centered,
Mm-hmm.
self-focused. They just want to keep talking,
Mm-hmm.
keep sharing about who they are, what they want, and just proving a point. I'm worth it. Do you like me? Do you want me? All that stuff. They're just having internal conversation, and they just keep talking.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what kind of listening. Another listening is if Tasha, you are talking, I'm preparing my answer, how I'm going to reply back without even getting you.
Yeah.
What you're talking about.
Yeah. You're listening to respond, not to understand.
Yeah. And there is a word called empathetic listening.
Mm-hmm.
Empathetic listening is, Stephen Covey talk about, that seek to understand before being understood, all that aspect comes from the fact is that you need to get other person's word before you want them to get your word.
Right.
Right? So for me, listening is key. Listening is where all the things happen. Listening is where life happens for me. So why listening is key.
Got it. Why is listening key in order to become a leader?
Yeah. I think we have talked in other places also in the podcast that you cannot be leader without followers. Show me one leader who is possible without having people following. And not that because they have to, not because they have a positional power, but personal power. So you must lead people, and leadership is only possible, as I share about, by having people follow, and you need to listen to your followers. And if you're not listening to followers, you are not a leader. And so that's the reason why it is such an important element of leadership, and why a leader must listen to their followers.
What kinds of things should they be listening for?
Yeah, many things. But do you get that? Why it is key?
Totally. I get it, yes.
Say more about, in your world, have you seen any leader who did not listen, or the leaders which you have experienced who listen?
Well, yeah, I've had leaders who didn't listen. And I see a lot of examples out there of popular leaders who don't listen at all. And it creates a lot of tension and anger in the followers because they don't feel heard. And if they're going to be following somebody, they want to make sure that that person understands them and sees them and is leading them in the direction that the group wants to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are consequences.
Totally.
There are ramifications, there are implications, ramifications, consequences, outcomes for leaders not to listen to people.
Yeah.
It's a make or break.
Totally. You won't be a leader for long if you won't be I can see how very powerful people can be, quote unquote, leaders for a long time, but that's from force.
But I think you can see, for me, that's misuse of the word leader.
Totally.
They are not leader at all anyway.
Right.
Right? In order to be a leader, you need to be the kind of leader where people are willing to follow, not because they have to follow.
Right.
And so there may be managers, there might be someone who have authority. All right? They are being put onto a certain place to lead.
Right.
But they are not leading actually.
Got it.
Right?
Totally.
Good. And have you seen when leaders listen, what happens?
Yeah, there's a sense of connection. There's respect. There's mutual respect between the leaders and the followers. Things get done more quickly because there's not the back and forth of, no, you didn't hear me, or no, that's not what I wanted, or, any of that noise.
Yeah.
So things, because it's the speed of trust, essentially.
And we are going to talk about the speed of trust in the context of learning also too. But
totally.
Trust is absolutely, you need to listen, what other person is thinking, what other person wants. You are leading people towards a particular vision, a direction. And they need to understand the followers.
Yeah, they need to understand, and the leaders also need to understand the followers' hearts.
Aspirations.
Basically. Yeah.
Right? Heart, aspirations.
Yeah.
All of that.
Totally.
Awesome. Okay, good. Maybe we have turned the table here, by the way. I'm asking you questions. how it is. That's what happened when you wear a Boise State shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Playing tomorrow. So I want to make sure that...
No, they play tonight.
They're playing tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Friday night game?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, they're playing tonight against the Air Force. So you guys know which day we are recording. Yeah. So I got that, totally. So you can see, for me, listening is love. Listening is compassion. Listening is where the leadership starts. So there are two kinds of listening I was talking about. One, pretending that I'm listening, but I'm preparing my own answers and I'm manipulating things in my mind. I just need to get you somewhere. That's one kind of listening. I'm seeing that I'm giving my ear to you, but I'm not getting your word.
Right.
So I want to distinguish that part also to Tasha in this conversation. I see a distinction between hearing and listening.
Yes.
Right?
You hear a lot of crap.
And we do not, sometimes we think that we are listening while we are only just hearing. Hearing is when a sound waves are coming out from someone's mouth and going through our ear and hitting the eardrum, and there are something getting created.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone it's a requirement. You can, by the way, listen to human more of a body language or
Yes.
right indications you can get. So listening is a combination of multiple things.
Yes.
That's one part of called hearing. But you need to evaluate and analyze everything what you are hearing based on something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, people analyze that based on what they already think.
Right.
We call them filters.
Right.
Right. So every human beings have their own filters that got created over the number of years of their own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when somebody talks, I'm already in my own head. I'm already thinking why is talking, why she's saying what she's saying, what she wants. I can give an example. If someone wants to set up a meeting with me as an employee, I'm telling you about the kind of listening which potentially can come in our way.
Mm-hmm.
When someone set up a meeting, I might think, oh, either that person has a problem or that person wants salary increment, that person has conflict with an employee. I'm just like guessing, and even I'm listening to their meeting invite.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a roadblock,
Mm-hmm.
such a barrier in leaders' life.
Totally.
So I've been practicing that, not to listen, not to assume,
Mm-hmm.
not to assume, but just having a clean slate all the time. So listening, the kind of listening leader needs is always comes out from the clean slate. Now you may need to use your experience and knowledge and ideas and everything. You cannot get them out completely. You need to evaluate, are you using them, and are you using them for helping your conversation, or are they coming as a barrier to you?
Mm-hmm.
So are those things making you empowered, or are those things making you disempowered?
Okay.
So empathetic listening is you are putting yourself in other person's shoes, you're listening from that person's point of view. I'm not saying listening, another reason just came in my mind is called, most of the people don't want to listen because listening for them means agreeing. That if I listen to Tasha's view, then I must agree.
Okay.
So since I don't want to agree, so I don't listen.
Yes, I can see that.
Right? In my world, listening is not equal to agreeing.
Right.
You can say everything, whatever you want to say, and I got it. That's why mostly quite a few times I got it. I'm not agreeing, I'm not disagreeing. I just got your point of view. I got your life. I got everything. And here's my response to that. After analyzing everything, here is my response back to you. I'm not countering you. I'm not defending anything. I'm just sharing what I think about what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a conversation.
Totally.
Right? So that's another thing people need to watch out about listening is that they sometimes don't listen because they have a concern that if I listen, then I need to agree.
Right.
Also, if I listen, then what about me?
Right.
What's my point of view? Everything. And all of that comes in people's way. And I say that kind of listening doesn't help leaders. Leader must listen from the place of nothing. Leader must listen as empathetic listening. Leader must listen by putting themselves into other person's shoes and then seeing what they are seeing.
Right. So let's make this a little bit more real. Okay. So let's say we have a new leader coming in. What does that process look like for them to first listen, then learn, then lead?
Perfect. So we'll go to learning side and then leading side. So leading with respect to listening, if you got a new assignment and you just need to listen. So I'm going to share my experiences, how I do, and I take some few nuggets out of it, and there might be a better way to do those. So for me, when I go to new place and new engagement, new relationship, new conversation, I generate myself by saying that I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not rhetorical questions, those are not loaded questions, but genuine inquiry questions.
Mm-hmm.
I call it 80-20 rule. Most of the time, as a leader, I ask 80% question and 20% I make statements. Listening is possible when you genuinely ask questions. So if I want to listen what Tasha you are thinking, rather than just keep talking, I ask Tasha, tell me more about yourself.
Right.
And that's only statement I make, and I'm going to listen to you from genuine listening point of view for next 5 minutes. You're going to share about you, you're going to share about your life, you're going to share about what you like, what you don't like, what you think, what you don't think, all of that stuff. And that's the best way for me to know where you are in your life, where you are on this planet. What are your aspirations look like? What are you up to?
Yeah.
So listening by asking questions.
Right.
Is the best way to inquire. I call more of an inquiry.
Yeah.
And then pay complete attention to what other person is saying, without adding or subtracting anything.
Yeah. How do you do that though? How I'm
Please.
Specifically asking about the without adding or subtracting.
Yes.
Because that I think requires a certain level of I guess freedom from yourself to show up that way. It takes a lot of practice to show up that way for other people.
Yeah.
To listen to them purely for the sake of listening and to not have we say it here, and we learned it from Landmark, but to not have your already always listening on.
Yeah. Or not having your view towards your life.
Totally.
Right? Already view which is coloring and shaping.
So do you have any tips
sure.
for the listeners? What practical things can they do in their lives if they see those filters and those questions and those assumptions showing up when they're genuinely trying to listen and engage with someone?
Yeah.
What should they do when that stuff shows up for them?
Yeah. So Annalisa just joined our company. When did you join? A month ago?
A month ago, yeah.
And so when I was listening to her, I think I can use that example.
Yeah.
I asked a question, share more when we went for lunch that day.
Mm-hmm.
If I was asking that question, so giving some insights about how to do it, I was not asking those questions or not listening to her because I wanted her to get to some place.
Mm-hmm.
I had zero agenda, no agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I was genuinely interested in Annalisa's life.
Yeah.
That who she is, what she's up to, what she wants, what's her dreams, what's her aspirations, what's her barriers, what's her choices. All those things because I need to know so that I know how I can lead her. Right? So for leaders, those who are listening, and then we are going to talk from followers' point of view also.
Totally.
Right? Because not everyone think that they are leading.
Yeah.
Those people who tuned into this podcast. So I'll give some ideas about that. But for me, if you are a leader, listen from the place, no, not subtracting, not adding. You can only do when you don't have any agenda. You are just being so much interested in another person's life.
So if you have an agenda, you're not actually listening.
Yeah, you are just getting to that person somewhere. You are asking those questions because you have some agenda. Mm-hmm. And you want that person to comply to that agenda or help you to reach to that agenda.
Yeah.
And I've seen that kind of listening about me. Like if I go in a customer meeting, and if I have an agenda that I need to close the deal, I'm keep listening for, are you going to business with us? Versus I go in most of the meeting, that's a sales tip also to if somebody is listening. I do not go to any customer meeting that I'm going to close deal. Truly, though I'm committed to close deals.
Yes.
Right? We talk about commitment versus attachment, but I'm genuinely having conversation with a point of view called how can I help? Because I'm in that conversation and I'm representing this company where I'm going to get a great company. Right? Yeah. We are representing In Time Tech, how In Time Tech can help. So my listening is from that person's point of view and that company that person is representing. How I and this company can help that person and that company.
Yeah, so at that point, that's when that shifts from the listening to the learning.
And so that's because without that listening, you cannot learn also too.
Mm-hmm.
But you ask, what's the ideas I can share? Keep your agenda aside. If you have only agenda, your agenda is to about other person.
Yeah.
What other person is, who that person want to be, what that person needs. All that stuff is so profound.
Right.
Honestly, when you operate from that mindset, you are so freeing. You just keep talking and talking in the place of listening, and then I'll let other person also talk and share, and it's magical.
So
I'm sharing with you, Tasha, it's really magical. I get mesmerized when I see that kind of listening. What other people also do, you're so tuned in.
Yeah.
And I'm so gotten by that fact. You can see my energy right now.
Totally.
I want human beings to be that kind of human being who just listen.
I want to kind of poke the bear a little bit.
Yeah, please.
So-
Always you poke the bear. This is not the only time I like that.
So one thing that keeps coming to mind for me is, this, and this is a little off track of leading, but again, we talk about you can be a leader from anywhere, regardless of title, is kind of some political conversations that come up.
Yeah.
And so how can people show up in those kind of heated conversations when they do have an agenda?
Yes.
When there are emotions at stake and there are where people are feeling like their rights are being threatened, how can people listen to all, opposing viewpoints?
Yeah, totally. Good. By the way, generally I don't participate in those kind of conversations.
I know.
Right?
So we're not going to talk about specifics.
We're
just going to talk
for me,
about
anything which is right and wrong, I don't.
Right.
But here's what I do. If somewhere I go and something who's genuinely making me wrong, let's say because someone needs to be right about, that's where I'm feeling wrong. I have simple modus operandi there. I simply say I got it. And I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with your views. I know why you think the way you think, and I appreciate and I acknowledge, and I don't think you need to change any of that, but that doesn't work for me. This is how you are landing on me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm seeing. And you also should not agree with me. But if you want to hear my share of the thing, if you want me to share my share of the things, I'm more than happy to do it. But what you are doing, what you are sharing, what you believe, what you think has reasons, but doesn't work for me.
Beautiful.
And just leave it there.
Got it. I like that.
Yeah. No confrontation, no arguments, nothing to prove the point. And that's one of the reasons I don't participate in conversations such as politics, religion, nationalism. They are fundamental sports. Is a small bit of sport. I follow Boise State and I follow a few others, but I'm just fascinated. If other persons comes, great, let's have a conversation, but I'm not going to make other person wrong. Right? So you can follow what you follow without making other person wrong.
Totally.
Right? So that's how I see listening, and it's such a key element for a leader.
Yeah, and I mean, what you just said too, you can follow what you follow and not make the other person wrong. And so you mentioned wanting to talk about listening as a follower. So what does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So then, if I'm a follower and my leader is not listening, because now I have no choice, because that's what you are sharing about what followers must do. See, followers can be powerful leaders.
Absolutely. Anybody can.
Right? And by virtue of who you are, by design, you are a leader. And you can learn certain skills and tools. So what we are talking about, how as a follower you can be leader as a skills and tools development. So for me, if I'm following, and if my leader is not listening or not competent, which we are going to talk about in the learning side, my goal is, how do I make that person successful?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than making that person wrong, rather than being at the end of suffering, my goal is, now since I'm there anyway, how can I make my leader successful?
Right, because
I'm suffering
totally
because of that person's incapability. Or I have a choice to move away.
Yeah.
But that's not the scenario we are talking.
Right.
If I have a choice, I would not let someone lead me who is not capable.
Right.
But most of the time that doesn't happen for human being, particularly in corporate world. Your manager is not as competent as leader, as good of a leader as you want. You know, many places. I was looking for organizational, any other places, entrepreneur, corporate world,
Totally.
churches,
Any
you know,
group
any
you're a part of, yeah.
and all of that, non-profit organizations. Your goal is either you should not deal with it or make your leader successful. Now, how do you make your leader successful? Here's the way I do.
Yeah.
I mostly look at it, what are the gaps in my leader's ability, where he's challenged, and I become a source of bridging those challenges without making that person wrong. If that person doesn't know how to do certain thing, I become the source. And I remember I used to work for a company. I'm not going to use the name of the company even. And my manager was literally, and there was a position got open, and everyone wanted to have me in that position, except the managers of manager thought that we need a different kind of a leader. There was a conversation about diversity and everything, and they put someone over there, and she was not that competent. And I literally worked for her more than a year, 3 months or so, and I made her immensely. Made means like I was a source of, and in fact it becomes so much and so that my manager, her, would not go in any meeting without me.
Okay. Wow.
Because she knew, and I was not threatening her position or anything. I was just source of help and source of support.
You were so committed to making her successful as your leader.
Absolutely. And it was remarkable. We are still friends.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a remarkable learning can be come out, and I always share about that. Is I could have been completely notorious. I could have been someone who made her life miserable.
Right.
And I did not, because it doesn't help. It doesn't forward the conversation. It doesn't forward the life.
Yeah.
And that's how the life got created. So for me, my insight for followers is either you should not follow, but if you think that's not the choice, then make your leader successful by providing whatever the gaps in leader's life and leader's capabilities.
So how then, you know, if you do have, as a leader, if you have somebody on your team who is resistant to your leadership, and is not showing up to make you successful, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that kind of tension?
Beautiful. First and foremost, you need to ask a question as a leader: is why that resistance there? What is it stopping that human being to follow you?
Yeah.
There must be something going on.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, you must listen to what is it going on? What the heck is going on over there? And I've done that for many times. And Tasha, you are going through right now too.
Totally.
Right? You as a leader, you are learning your own life as a leader, and you are just going through what's going on, and you are going beyond your own moods and feelings and your own way of working. And I just simply say, put the mirror in front of you and look at it. What is it which you are not seeing? What is it which you are not listening?
Yeah, what is it they're resisting? And is it something I'm missing, something that's lacking in my leadership, or is it something that I can help them see in themselves?
Yeah. So most of the time, if somebody is resisting to my leadership or ideas or thinking, I mostly go and directly talk. If you were the one, Tasha, if you were doing, I'm going to ask Tasha. Seems like you have some challenges in a way that I'm working. Can you share more?
Yes.
And now you share. And then you share whatever is going on. And I'm willing to literally it's not a loaded question. It's not, it's nothing other than genuine question, because I want to do better.
Yeah. So what do you do in situations, where you come in and you're leading and you have knowledge that the team doesn't have or understand that you have?
Yeah.
And so at that point, you have to stop listening and start telling.
Yeah, for sure. And I also tell most of the time, but I tell by qualifying a simple thing. Look, I know you don't have a whole picture. Can you let me share with you what's going on? And that's how I share.
Got it.
And share the intent.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should talk a little bit about learning side of thing, because intent is a learning, because
Totally.
leader has a two-part. Trust is a key element and can only be created by having a character and competency.
Mm-hmm.
Both. As Steve Covey's talk about,
Yep.
Steve Covey Jr. Steve Covey R. Jr. talk about Speed of Trust book about trust is a key element of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for leader, trust must be get created, and the part of it is the intent, clarifying your intent, telling people why are you talking. Even for our podcast, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
Intent is not any other thing other than our listeners to listen
Mm-hmm.
and then create something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So intent is key for the leader, and then after that you need to learn. You need to learn the domain which you are leading. See, for example, can I lead a open heart surgery operation?
Not right now. You couldn't.
Absolutely, because I am not have a competency.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have a capabilities, and
You
I
haven't
cannot
learned
produce
anything
results.
about it.
Right? So for leader, the people who are leader in military, leaders of organization, leaders of sports, they must learn the domain they are leading.
Yeah.
Right? They must learn the domain for which their leadership is required for. Right? So for me, learning is key element of it. So once you listen, you need to learn.
Right.
Learn about the domain, learn about how people work, learn about what people do, what they do, learn about how people have done things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
There must be reasons.
Totally.
You cannot lead without understanding what has been done, what was the scenario in the past. Because leader needs to take followers or a situation to a future which is better than today.
Right.
And you cannot make things better until you understand how things has been transpired,
Right.
how things have come to where it is today.
Because there's a whole chunk of information that you're missing, and I've experienced that before. You know, where I've had leaders come in and say, "Okay, well, how about this?" And I'm like, "No, we've done that already."
Yeah.
You know, and if you would have listened to me when I was
Can you
talking,
By the way,
you would have known that.
but can you see how key element of listening is here? Leader comes and execute the agenda without understanding, and you just right away said, "Have you listened to?"
Yeah, totally.
And that's how you learn.
Right.
By listening to people and listening to what domains needs are that will make you effective and efficient contributor.
Right, because you have to learn that domain and prove that you know it.
Yes.
In order to get the respect and connectedness to the team to be able to then lead them. Because without that connectedness and that knowledge and that respect, there's that leadership role is gonna, that connection to your team is gonna be broken.
Yeah, leaders always produce results.
Yeah.
Always. If you are not producing results, it will be pretty hard for you to be a leader.
Yeah.
And in order to produce results, you need to know how to produce results.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key elements of producing results is you must be expert of the domain
Yes.
where you need to produce results.
Totally.
And that's how you earn respect. You cannot be a technology leader if you don't understand the platform.
Yeah.
You cannot be an industry leader if you don't know the industry.
Right.
And all of that requires domain expertise. And that you must learn. And you spend quite a bit of time. Learning requires patience. Learning requires time investment.
Mm-hmm.
Learning requires commitment. Learning requires discipline. All of those are key for a leader.
Yeah.
And most of the time, those people who end up not so successful leaders, they are in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like short-sighted, some of the aspect, not able to see what is required, and all that stuff.
Yeah, you used the analogy of like wading into the water rather than like cannonballing in. Because
Yes.
if you just wade in, you're going slow, you're learning, you're not making too many waves, you know, you're not disturbing the ecosystem that's already there.
Right.
But if you splash in, it creates a mess.
Yeah,
for
and you're
everybody.
splashed in because you want to enjoy the water quickly. You
Totally.
want to impact and blah, blah.
Yeah.
But if you wade in, slide in, no one knows, but it takes time. And you have a patience because you are doing it in the interest of the people who are already on the pool.
So I was just going to say, doing it that way is others focused.
Yeah.
Jumping in is you focused.
Totally.
You
And
don't care about anybody else.
And you can cut it from any direction, Tasha. It's always about others versus me focused conversation. And all the podcasts, there's a flavor of that element of it.
Yeah.
If you want to have a life which is based on profound experience, the thing which you want to create on this planet, you need to have a desire and willingness to be compassionate and loving towards others.
Yeah.
And that's how I see leadership is the same element of it, that you listen and learn by investing your time and energy. And it's not about you, and you are doing it because it's about others, and that's how you lead people effectively.
Totally. Beautiful.
That's what I can say.
I love it.
Good. Annalisa, anything from you?
I don't think so. I think you covered it all.
Awesome. Wonderful. That's all? Anything else?
I have nothing else. This was
Awesome.
This was really powerful.
Absolutely powerful for me also too, and having an opportunity. I want to acknowledge both you, and say you and Tasha, for creating this platform.
Yeah.
It's wonderful for us to talk through, and we are going to keep doing it. And for audience, I have simple suggestion. Please listen, because we're going to do that.
Now you know how.
But yeah, and you know how. And provide some feedback to us.
Absolutely.
Let us know how we are doing. Things which you like, things which you are not liking. Or
We
things
would
which
like to listen to you now.
Yeah, listen to you now. Exactly. And also share about in what way we can do better.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear those things.
Absolutely.
Honestly, if you can make those known to us, you're going to make a great contribution in our lives.
Absolutely. And everybody else's lives too, because chances are if you have the feedback, other people have it too.
Absolutely. So that's all from my side.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.